Good morning, everybody. It's Sunday. Welcome back to my channel. This morning I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to start doing some really simple little projects, which would be perfect for beginner slow stitches if you're looking for something to start on that's not enormous and that gives you a little gift or a little thing that you can use at the end. So I'm doing a series of slow stitched cards. I've got a couple that I have finished already, and I'll just show you what I've got so far. So this is going to be just a little happy birthday card. So all I've done is make that on a little bit of doily, and we'll talk about a bit later about using something for the backing. So a little happy birthday one, but a couple of ones that will be just bunches of flowers, which could be used for a number of things. This is a great way to use up your teeny tiny scraps. Those three little cards are done with flowers, and then I have some others that are underway like this at the moment. This would be like a house one, and then a little bon voyage card. You know there was going to be some. So I'm going to do one little video for each card. So if you'd like to join in and make some cards, so you've got them in your pocket ready to go if you need a beautiful card to give to somebody, or alternatively, these could very simply be stitched together as little panels. It just makes it all a bit more bite-size and new user-friendly. So we're going to start with this one today, which is really simple. So I've got, here's one I prepared earlier. I've got one all pinned down, ready to go. And then I'm going to actually do one along with you to show you how to get to this point. So I have started by making a few piles of stuff to draw from. So this is a pile of doily offcuts of good enough quality that I could use them for a card, so heavy. I've got a little, that one's a little handkerchief, which will be good for some decoration, but not good for this backing part that we need. So they've all got interesting edges, things that I can just use up. And then over here in this pile, I've got a whole heap of offcuts of doilies. Sorry, can you see that below? Offcuts of doilies. Generally, these have all got some flowers or some sort of trim still on them. So they've all been cut up. They're all underway. So do try to use those first before I hack into some new ones. So the first thing I've done is find a backing. So I have these lovely little blue, really gorgeous linen serviettes. So all I've done with one of those is, leave that one there so you can see it, is cut it. So I've cut that into 4. And again, I haven't measured. I just actually wanted them to fit on these that I had already prepared. So I kind of just measured, did a little cut, and then cut. I'm going to show you how we put that together. It's really simple. All you need are some offcuts of some sort of printed fabric, a couple of doilies, a bit of lace, and some sort of check or something that you can do a bit of bunting with. So the idea of this is obviously it's a little cake on a cake stand with a couple of candles and a bit of bunting. You can use whatever colours, whatever makes you happy. But I'll show you how I just cut these out, and literally it is completely free range, free hand. I'll just move you over there so I can show you. I literally first went and found some doily, this sort of doily over here, just a bit of a doily that I had left like this, and I freehand cut a little cake shape, flat on one side, and that's going to be the part that goes here. I then found some scraps of pattern fabric, and it's helpful I think if this has quite a good color on it to make it stand out so you can see what it is. And I literally just put that on there and got my trusty pen and did a bit of a wonky scallop along the bottom to represent the cake stand. Really simple. And then I drew some post and a little stand. So they just very simply then get cut out as they are. We're going all raw edges. I usually go a little bit bigger than my pen. Yes, I'm using massive scissors, I know, I always do. I'm hoping if you have really been lurking around the slow stitch scene and you're loving it, but you're thinking, God, what will I do? How can I start? This is a really simple way. You don't need a lot of resources for this, just some offcuts, like literally teeny tiny offcuts. So I'm going to cut some of this to show you. I want to use this as my card backing. and I want some of this edging on. So I'm literally going to just go here, not quite halfway. I'm going to rip him all the way, bottom of it, and then the same this way. How big do I want him? Probably about there, I think. So that is my backing. That's as simple as it is. And if you've got some thing with decorative edges, this is a perfect way to use it up. So that's my backing. Simple. Now I'm going to put on my little cake stand. There he is. Stop looking. Simple as that. And obviously you can personalize these if you've got a boy, a girl, an older person, whatever. And you can see there's nothing technical about this at all. The only thing I would recommend is you get some of these really cool little applique pins that are tiny so you don't stab yourself all the time. So that's going to be my stand. Now I want a little table. This is supposed to represent a table or a tablecloth for it to stand on. So in my stash of doilies, I'm just going to go the first one that I've got. I kind of want it to be on an angle, like I've got a fold in it. What happens if I just cut on that fold? That could work. I'm literally just going to cut. I'm not ripping this because it's on an angle and it won't rip the way that I want it to. I will still be a bit brutal with those edges. That's my tablecloth. I quite like that on an angle like that. And my back goes on. That's the stand. Put him in the middle. That's the base. Put the cake next. Let's just see how tall it is. Sometimes my thing is a bit. Alrighty. Actually, we'll put that on second. There's my cake. So I do want a little bit of decorative stuff up in the top corner. So this is a beautiful old bit of lace that I have on here. I'm literally going to just cut a piece. I quite like this corner feature. I'm literally just going to cut that like that and pop it probably to the left, the other side. Yep, the left. Trim that off the edge. Reschedule my little guy. He's moved around a bit. I should have done the lace first, shouldn't I? How gorgeous that looks. Bring this down a bit. It's quite tall. I want to be able to put some candles on top without setting my bunting on fire. 1, 2, 3. And if you wanted to lay all these pieces upside down and spray some basting spray on them, that would probably help when you're initially putting them on. So I'm looking at that thinking, that's tall. I'm going to make that a bit shorter. The world's tallest cake stand. I'm going to take a chunk off there. Awesome. I'm hoping my phone doesn't fill up again. I'm having storage issues. There we go, that's better. So look how cute that is. So now we're going to talk about bunting. I love me a good bit of bunting. So all I've used for this is just some red gingham that I had. Literally, that is the size of the scrap that I have. I'm literally going to use half square triangles. I want to cut an approximate square. I reckon that's about a square. Cut that again. And then I'm going to cut across. Do the same here. See how you can use every tiny little piece. So now I'm going to just swing them across there maybe. See how many you need. How cute is that? That's all there is to it. So now we're going to pin it down. So I'll move on to this one that I've already pinned down, so I'm not spending hours. Actually going to do a reasonably short video this time. You can see how easy that was to put together. Really, really simple. handmade cards don't have to be expensive, but also if you don't want to use this as a card, you could make a little teeny tiny, basically they're just little panels. You could do anything with them. So I'm going to just show you how I will stitch that together. I'll put these two out of the way. I feel like I'm on a cooking program. So then it's just completely up to you. Again, I tend to just go with what I have. Here's some needles. This is just how I ended my last session. So I'm going to start with, I've got a dark brown on there. I'm going to start with you. So this is all pinned down so that it doesn't drive me mad. And you can see these little pins are amazing because they're so tiny that you can pin down little pieces like this and not, stab yourself a million times. And then it's up to you about the stitching. I'm going to feature some stitching. Again, you know how I am with stitching. I like to see it. I'm just going to move my pins a little bit because I'd like to capture both that and this in the stitching. Now this is quite a broadly woven linen, so it will fray. So I will actually stitch all the way across this. I'll show you what I mean, just so I don't lose the stitching once it starts to fray. And these seem so little to me when I'm working. I struggle so much more with smaller things. All right, up we go. Further in, I want to make sure I get the base and that. And again, it doesn't matter what the back looks like. You're not going to see it. It's going to go onto your card. Or, it's going to be a panel that you attach or put a backing on if you're going to use it for a little quilt. So this guy's moving a bit, so I'm just going to pop another pin in him. And then this is just all tiny offcuts. You can see how teeny tiny all the pieces are. So it just shows you can use everything up. It's amazing because little things usually take so much longer to make than big things. So this is a good thing too. You could pin up a whole heap and then sit in front of the telly and put them together. Sew them together with your slow stitching. Let's go through there, yeah. Big straight stitches to start. I'll get some needle again. So I'm actually going to do a couple of rows across here just to hold it all in place. Right, the back stitch into the gap. See how I haven't caught that bit? I'll come back and fix him. Could sew them on the cake bit first underneath, but yeah. Come back here, yeah. G-Smith, okay. So go to the edge, come here. Okay. So I haven't captured that there, but that's right. I'm going to stitch along the bottom here anyway. I'm going to tuck that under. Oops, I hope you can see. Oops, my linen. You keep your little stashes of tiny pieces. I keep my tiny scraps separate from my kind of bigger scraps so that when I want to go do something like this, I try to use up first. away. Now I'll just need port under there, you. Let's see how that looks. There we go, that is the cake guy on. So I'm going to actually continue the stitching. You could go around the scallop if you wanted to. I'm just deciding whether or not I want to do that. I quite like how it hangs off. I'm actually going to tie that bit off there because it's teeny tiny. Let's start with a new piece. This is again quite a coarse linen that I'm using, so it's great for this, really easy to use. So there you go, that's the first bit on, a little cake bit. I'm going to go on my lace next because it is on the back before I start stitching this. And I might even do these just to get rid of the pins because it's heavy when I pick it up, it flops. So I'm just thinking what I want to do for them, whether I want to do a feature color. I've got some red thread here. I think I might do a red bunting stitch. My needle. And really, really simple. There's no right or wrong. I'm going to start here so I can work the way I prefer to work. I should just straight stitch them down. Again, it's about getting far enough in that they don't fray, but you capture them. This little gingham's pretty good, it's quite tight. Go in there, quite small stitches. There we go. And some people prefer to use a smaller needle here, that's fine. I'm not one of them. Let's do stitch by stitch. And go along and then come back so I can take the pins out. Because it's so tiny, this whole thing, it takes no time at all. I'm going to stitch from one to the other. Come through there. Oh, there's my washing machine. I'm going to stitch across so that it joins. If that makes sense, to there. Excellent. So I'm going to do a birthday card. I'll do some of those little bunches of flowers, which could be used for anything. It could be get well, it could be a birthday, thinking of you, and then I'm going to do some really simple Christmas slow stitch cards. Get you all going, hopefully, into slow stitching, feeling confident that you can have a crack. And then nothing's different, it's just, you know, bigger stuff. I know the hardest part for some people is actually cutting up doilies and the bits and pieces, but as you can see, everything gets used, nothing is wasted. And surely that's better than sitting in a drawer somewhere. So I have deliberately chosen quite a tightly woven fabric for this, just because they're so tiny and they're on the bias and they will definitely fray. We don't want them to fray out of existence. We like a bit of fraying, but not, you know, they don't represent what you want them to represent anymore. Sorry, a little pot over here, shall I? That makes more sense. Alrighty, let's see where you are, buddy. Might need another one. And I like this works if they're off center, if you kind of go off the side of the card. For me anyway, but if you're someone who likes things straightened up and neat and tidy, then you can certainly do whatever you want. Put your bunting all the way across the top, make your table centered. That's not what I like. I am going to add another triangle. I want it to go all the way to the edge. From over here. Not just do it so I get the whole thing like that. I like that. Let me just spin it around and have a look. I don't like that that has to go up to fit, and I don't want half a triangle, so I'm actually just going to cut a little bit off that when we get to that. But just see how that looks. Make a little bit off the side of this so that my bunting finishes at the edge. Thread. Gorgeous. Very hard to pick my needles up today. Okay. So that is my bunting across the top. I'm going to go back in and just fill in the stitches again, just to secure it. You know, I like everything to be down and tight and sorted. I'm just going to do a stitch under there, yeah. And gaps on the way back. And again, this is completely up to you what you do. And you can just try some things in this scale. You know, it's not scary. There's no big mistakes to be made. If you don't like it, start again, do another one. And I do tend to do stitch by stitch just because thick, things move. My stitches are big and visible, and I want them to be where I want them. And it's not a big project, so doing stitch by stitch doesn't add that much time for me. And I can make sure everything is down where I want it to be. And the corners of my little bunting isn't lifting then either because they're all stitched down. Yeah. You can still see me. And up to here. Only 30 degrees where I am today. It's only the beginning of spring, but we've just suddenly, boom, off we go into hot and windy and not particularly nice today. Only there for my bunting. I'm going to do one right over that corner. Hold it down. As you can see, I've captured the lace behind in the stitching as well. And so I will do some more stitching on the lace, but it's not going anywhere. I don't need to pin it just at the moment. Simple stitch in place a couple times. Not going anywhere. Let's have a look. Here we go. We got our bunting on. I've got my cake on. I'm going to work from the top down now. I'm going to stitch the cake. So just deciding what color I would like to do. On this one, what I did earlier, I kind of just made the cake stitching quiet. I think it was this one, yep. So I'm going to use that colour for my cake stitching. And then anything else is just decorative, whatever you, like I've made some stitches across the thing there for no reason. What happened? Gold thread. One from an op shop. Long needle, that one's too thin. Oh, split my thread. Oh, it's so easy. Now I'm going to stitch down my cake, and I will capture that little bit of lace in the stitching. I'll remove this world's biggest pin. I'm just going around for this guy. And if you want to put some more texture on the cake, you could go across and do whatever you want. For me, and this doily is old and easily frayed, so I have to go far enough in to hold it, not lose in the fray. And I'm going to pin you while I do this. Don't end up. Just hold that tight while I'm doing it. There's little pins everywhere, shouldn't I? I like them, they're just very hard to pick up. Yeah, look how good that looks so far. But none of that is going anywhere now. So I don't want any further decoration on my little cake. So I am going to just keep using this gold and go up and do some stitching in the lace, more just to stop it flapping, but all just a bit of more texture. I'm going to pick up probably this line and just follow it through with some really simple little crosses maybe. Am I flat? Yes, I am. Just some really simple little crosses. And again, no reason, just random to hold it through the middle there. It does add lots of lovely texture. Quite small. I don't necessarily want them to be a feature, they're just adding the background. Imagine them kind of evenly spaced over the texture. You see? You see that hopefully? Tiny little stitches, and again up here. You could follow the lace and do straight stitches. You could do some sort of feature stitches, maybe to represent a party, like little fireworky kind of stitches in the colours if you wanted to. Whatever you like, whatever you want to use up, whatever you want to do. Right. And I like that this has got the seam through it, because you know, adds a bit of interest. Makes it look super slow stitched. Nearly there, maybe two more. I don't want it on the same level. I think that might be it actually. So those little stitches are simply just in the background. I think I need one. I need one down here. What do you think? I'm just going to run my thread across there. That's fine. It'll be a card. No one's washing it, or well, these could just be little wall things. I don't know. Lots of things. I just know that I think the barriers to people starting doing slow stitching is they think, what will I do with it? It's got to have a purpose. So hopefully this will get you over that hump, and then you'll come over to the dark side. Oh, dark side with the rest of us, where you're just quite happy to make. Okay, so that's the top done, all stitched down. Good. Can you? I might just zoom you in, see if you can see that. It's all done. Too easy. Just cut that little funny bit off there. All I need to do now is my table at the bottom, and I've put a little flower there as well. Sorry, and this little guy, I forgot about him. I'm going to stitch down the I cut that in one. Did I? One piece? No, it's two pieces. I'm just going to stitch down the stand, the leg of the stand, and then the flowers, etc. at the bottom. So I'm going to use. No, I don't want to use the gold. I'm going to do some more brown, I think. Oh no, I'm nearly running out. It's funny, I went to Vinnie's yesterday, and you just never know. There was one shop I went to that had two rolls of this thread in a little, one of $6. Thinking, eh. And then on another day you'll go and there'll be 5 in a container for $2. So I just wait for that day. I'm actually going to start up under here, make sure that's all stitched down. And again, I'm just going around the edge for this. I'm not doing any across it. I'll go across the top here so it doesn't lift. And then I'm going to do too far. I'm going to do around the outline basically. Straight stitch, nothing special. You know by now I'm not anything of a embroiderer. Very, very basic. And just lots of it, I guess. Right, so again, I'm going to do this stitch by stitch just so I can get it where I want and get rid of that ridiculous pin. And into the corner, giving enough room for it to fray and not mean that it comes apart. Bottom now. Once I've done this, and my table will be also stitched in place. We just take that off now. Really simple. I hope you join me. I hope you make some cards and share them. We're going to go across the base thingy here in a little curve and then join out again to the edge. Close to the edge, that one. I'm going to do what I did up the top and turn around and just fill in the opposite stitch. If you backstitch and you want to backstitch, you can do that. I just find this way it doesn't make as big a holes in something that's so small, particularly when I use such a big needle. If you're using a smaller needle and smaller thread, then you might want to backstitch it. And that's fine, that works. This is kind of just like an outline. So nothing underneath, just layers of stuff that would have been in a bin somewhere. And thank you if you're new to my channel and you've subbed and liked. It's really lovely. I'm really grateful. I'm really hoping I can share my love for slow stitching and all of the positive well-being that it brings. It really does. And I think the slow stitch community is really open and friendly and welcoming. There's no police. We've got no right or wrong way to do it. It's purely for enjoyment and whimsy. I'm just going to do one back around over the cover here, the base. That's just to stop that little bit of the base fraying and just to give a bit of definition. It's meant to be wonky, it's meant to be crooked. Nearly done. One more stitch up under there. Oops. So that is the cake thingy done. The back in the middle where you can't see it through the other side. Found my little guy, should be happy to know. So far we've got our bunting. We'll just zoom out a bit. Oops, sorry, wrong way. We've got our bunting done, we've got the lace down, our cake's done, our cake stand is done, and now we're going to work on the table. So I'm just going to probably, I won't trim it just yet. I'm going to stitch along the white. And again, completely up to you. If you wanted to feature this, you can. Whatever you want. I'm actually just going to put something that's quite quiet in there. Maybe this one. Train. It's going north to Rocky. So this is a really nice thick cotton, so it adds really lovely texture. It just can be a bit of a bugger to thread, but I will persevere. Ah, did I get him? Ah, I didn't get him. All right. We're nearly done. It's really simple. All we're going to do now is stitch on the tablecloth, stitch around my little flowers here, and then do some little stitching for candles to show that it's a birthday cake. I'm going to start here and go around as if I'm just going around the edge again. Really simple stitches. I'm not going to go back through these. They're just going to be straight stitch like that. Down so I don't knot. And then it's just going to follow the line of the outside, sorry, the back of the piece. So I'll go straight down here. Am I? I think I might actually drop off here. No, I'll go down, but not in a straight line. Down across there like that. Then I'm just going to run along the bottom of the doily there. Follow the line of the crochet. And you could put something else on the table if you wanted. A vase or a cup and saucer or a plate. Lots of little images on the Kathy Holden fabrics that would work really well for that, but I just want it to be really simple for the one I'm doing. Oh, there's my dog. I'm just going to keep stitching along underneath, right to the edge. Into there, too easy. Get that off for a minute. Follow again along this edge, and it's crooked, and that's okay. That's exactly how I want it to be. So don't overthink it. Put some of that brown thread under there. Nearly done. And then I'll show you how I will attach these to the background to make a card. Now, if you wanted to, you could fill that whole thing in with stitching. You could follow the line of that, however you wanted to do, but that's all I want to do for that. Now I'm going to put my little flowers here. I don't want to go around the outside because I want it to lift a little bit. I'm just going to go close to in here. Do some stitches in close to that flower design. Hold it in place, but allow it to be quite 3D. Not going anywhere, so I'm kind of going into the pointy bits, if that makes sense. Oh, that's my thumb. One there. One here. You can see where I'm just going, following the petal shape, going right up into that point so that it's really tight to the flower. Again, there's no right or wrong. If you'd like to do a feature stitch around this, if you wanted to add more flowers, whatever, it's slow stitching, do whatever you want. There's quite a few layers I'm going through there. I'm going to give it 3, this little star guy. Pictures. Oops, put that there. I really want it to stay. I don't want it to flop. No flapping, thanks. Nearly done. I'm going to do just a stitch through the holes of whatever that little flower is. Keep him in place like that. And back down to this one. To here. Back down to the stem. And then we're back to the start again. Closer and all that. And this is really tight, this little cut off doily, so it's not going to fray as easily, which is why I can get away. Sorry about that, everybody. My phone suddenly said the storage was full. So unbeknownst to me, I kept stitching and finished this without realizing. So I'll just show you how I finished it. I finished just stitching this little flowers off a doily down here. That's the finished piece like this. And then I've just stitched the whole thing onto a bit of old vintage paper that I've sewn together. It's actually 2 pieces of paper that I've sewn all the way around the outside and then stitched a bit of ticking on the binding. I'm going to do a new video in a moment to show you how to stitch that on. Good morning. Welcome back to our little bit of card making that we're doing with slow stitching. I'm just going to show you how I stitched my finished little piece here onto my background. Unfortunately, my phone dropped out just as I was doing this in the last one, so I'm going to redo it with a new one here. In the last little bit, we've stitched all of this down really simply with slow stitches made from scraps and bits of old doilies and some lace. So this is the finished little birthday card. I've made mine just on some old paper that I've sewn together that I've just supported the fold with a little bit of additional ticking for a bit of colour as well. And then I've just hand stitched it on. So I'm just going to show you how to do that now with this one. Really simple. So this is just an old bit of doily. We've done our beautiful slow stitch birthday cake and a bit of a little banner, some bunting at the top there, and now we're just going to put this on this little background. Again, you can put this on anything you want, card, any beautiful old scrapbooking paper you might have, vintage papers. I'm going to use these old papers, which are actually from an old book my dad's at school. So I've tied a knot in the end, but I'm actually going to start under here just so you don't see the knot. I'm just going to tuck the knot there to start with, and then literally I'm just going to do straight stitches around. I'm just going to put it there where I want it, and really simply and carefully, because this paper is quite delicate, I'm just going to do straight stitches all the way around. I'm not pulling too tight because I might rip this paper. And again, you can use anything you like for the background. Any old books you find, any old atlases are great. Children's stories are great, children's picture books in particular, old ones, or children's little chapter books, beginning chapter books in particular are beautiful for this. They just seem to have a really good quality paper that ages really lovely. I don't want to come up through there. I'm literally just using a fine black crochet cotton to stitch this down. So there's no rocket science to this. It's really simple. If you didn't want your stitches to show, you could do it in an ivory sort of colour, the same as the background bit of linen here. I quite like the black. I don't really hide any of my stitching. All the way around. So feel free to copy this little pattern out there in the ether for use. Just trying to share the love of slow stitching, particularly for beginners who are kind of looking at big projects thinking they're overwhelming. And I think the biggest challenge is being happy to do something that not necessarily for a purpose, just for the fun of it. So this will hopefully straddle that little gap for you a bit, in that you can use these as a card or a little framed thing, a gift. But if you were interested in trying to make a bigger piece, you just simply make a heap of these and join them together. I'm just going to go through here. So I've got the fabric under me now, so it's a little bit stronger. Again, I'm just going to follow the line of the bit of linen that I've cut. This is off an old tablecloth, maybe an old doily. So the middle bits of the doilies that don't have a pattern all get used up as well in this sort of project. And this is actually a really nice gift in itself. If you made a set of, say, 5 or 6 of these and then wrapped them up and gave them to someone as a little Christmas stocking filler, it's a lovely little gift for them to have to use. I will be doing some Christmas ones of these soon. This does not seem to be enough hours in the day. This is a bit tricky because I'm trying not to bend that paper. Yeah. As you can see, it's really basic sewing, slow stitching, straight stitching. I'm not trying to have the same size stitches. I'm not trying to be straight. If you would like to go straight, and that's absolutely fine too. You just develop your own style. Just going to go under here. So depending on your background, if this was fabric, you might be able to, or a heavier card, you might find that you need to put it straight onto a surface to push straight down like that and pull straight up. One of the wool ironing mats is actually quite useful for that. So here to the corner. I guess the only thing to be wary of with this kind of linen is that it frays quite a way in. So just making sure that you capture the edge far enough in so that your stitch doesn't fall out when it frays. That's it. I'm just going to lift this little bit of linen up, a bit of lace up, sorry, so that I can stitch underneath, under there. a little bit there, but that's okay. I do have coffee stains under my fingernails from tea dyeing some ribbon this morning. This is a really simple project that anybody can do. Skip up through here. I'm actually just going to thread that underneath there because there is room. The other side. If you wanted to, you could machine stitch this on as well. Paper goes perfectly well through your sewing machine. As you can see, I've machine stitched all the way around the outside of these when I was making these little double pages for junk journals. These are just some pages that were left over, so I am repurposing them into some little cards. Oops, see I've torn through there. That's right, let's do the next one more gently. Nearly done. It was really simple. To finish off, I'm just going to come back under here. I've just gone through the same hole. That was a bit silly. We'll do that again. Here next to that hole, not in the same hole. Just pin that back for a second while I tie a knot. I'm just pinning to the fabric, not to the paper. As I said, this paper is quite delicate. If you are using something a bit tougher than this, it's probably a good idea. I just happen to have these from last time I made some journals. I'm just creating a little knot down there. Trim him off. That loose. There's a little homemade slow stitch birthday card. Looks like an inside. Done. Thanks for watching.